The November waters off North Carolina's Outer Banks concealed hundreds of shipwrecks, but the team aboard the research vessel Nautilus had found something special. The newly discovered wreck, likely a Civil War blockade runner, lay in 120 feet of dark water. None of them expected their historic find would lead to a battle for survival. Dr. Rachel Mitchell, 41, led the expedition with decades of underwater archaeology experience. Her team included Michael Chen, 35, their dive specialist, twin brothers Jack and Tom Reeves, 29, operating their ROV systems, and Sarah Connor, 38, their marine safety officer, who'd worked these waters for 15 years. Visibility's unusually good today, Sarah noted at their morning briefing. At depth, they could expect 30 feet of clarity, exceptional for these waters. What they didn't know was that recent coastal storms had altered local currents, bringing deepwater predators unusually close to shore. The first dive went perfectly. Rachel and Michael documented the wreck's exposed timbers, while the Reeves brothers managed their ROV cameras. The ship's identity was becoming clear. Brass fittings and cargo suggested the Defiance, lost in 1863 while running the Union blockade. Things changed during the afternoon dive. At 110 feet, Rachel noticed movement beyond their light's reach. The ROV's cameras caught glimpses of something large circling the wreck site. Experience told them to expect sand tigers, common around shipwrecks, but this shadow was much larger. "Unknown contact moving your way," Jack radioed from above. Through the murky water, their lights revealed what shouldn't have been there: a mature great white, easily 16 feet long. These waters occasionally saw great whites, but never this close to shore, never this deep. Rachel immediately signaled Michael to move closer to the wreck. In open water, distance from a shark meant safety. But at this depth, with limited air and required decompression stops, they needed cover. The shark's behavior was immediately concerning. Direct, purposeful approaches rather than curious passes. "It's being drawn to our electronics," Tom observed through the ROV cameras. Their lights, cameras, and communication equipment were creating electromagnetic fields that seemed to agitate the predator. Each pass brought it closer, its movements becoming more aggressive. The situation deteriorated when their primary ROV malfunctioned. The electrical short sent sparks through the water, and the shark's reaction was immediate and violent. It charged the ROV, its massive jaws crushing the expensive equipment like a toy. Now they had a new problem. The damaged ROV was leaking battery acid, creating a toxic cloud that forced Rachel and Michael to change position. The shark, already agitated, began displaying classic pre-attack behavior: pointed fins, arched back, erratic swimming patterns. Sarah, monitoring from above, made a crucial decision. "Begin emergency ascent," she ordered. But at this depth, they couldn't simply swim up. They needed to make several decompression stops or risk potentially fatal bubble formation in their blood. The shark attacked as they began their ascent. It charged through their bubble stream, forcing them back toward the wreck. Rachel felt its rough skin brush her leg as it passed, leaving painful scratches through her exposure suit. The scent of blood, however faint, would only make their situation worse. Michael deployed their emergency shark deterrent, an electronic device designed to overwhelm shark-sensitive receptors. The great white recoiled initially but quickly returned, now seemingly more aggravated by the electrical pulses. At their first decompression stop, 70 feet down, they faced a terrible choice. Their air supplies were diminishing faster than planned, but rushing their ascent could be fatal. Through their communications system, they could hear the crew above tracking the shark's increasingly aggressive movements. The predator's next attack targeted their airlines. Its powerful jaws clamped down on Michael's primary regulator hose, jerking him violently. Rachel immediately offered her backup regulator. They would have to buddy breathe through their remaining decompression stops. Jack maneuvered their backup ROV between them and the shark, using its lights and movements to distract the predator. The strategy worked briefly, but their situation was becoming desperate. They had 15 minutes of air remaining and still needed 2 more decompression stops. At 30 feet during their final stop, the shark made its most determined attack. It charged straight up from the depths, jaws open wide. Michael barely managed to deflect it with his camera housing, the impact shattering the expensive equipment but saving his life. Their final ascent was a blur of bubbles and fear. The shark made one last attempt to reach them, launching itself so high that its head cleared the surface, snapping at their fins as they were pulled aboard the Nautilus. The incident made headlines across the archaeological community. Investigation revealed that shifting Gulf Stream patterns had brought deep-water great whites closer to shore. The combination of electrical equipment and underwater archaeology created conditions that inadvertently attracted and agitated these predators. Dr. Mitchell continued her work but developed new protocols for shipwreck archaeology in shark-inhabited waters. The Reeves brothers redesigned their ROV systems to minimize electromagnetic emissions, while Sarah Connor helped establish better safety guidelines for deep-water archaeology. Michael Chen's scratched camera housing and the damaged ROV became exhibits at the Maritime Museum in Beaufort, alongside displays about the defiance and the unexpected dangers of modern shipwreck exploration. The Great White was spotted several more times that season before disappearing into deeper waters. Its presence led to new studies of shark behavior around shipwrecks, particularly their reaction to electronic equipment used in marine archaeology. Today, the Outer Banks still draws archaeological expeditions and sharks alike. The incident serves as a reminder that in combining modern technology with underwater exploration, we sometimes create unexpected attractions for the ocean's most efficient predators. For the Nautilus team, the experience reinforced the need for constant vigilance in underwater archaeology. Their story continues to educate new generations of marine archaeologists about the importance of understanding not just the historical waters they explore, but the predators that call them home. The waters off San Clemente Island, California, had hosted Navy SEAL training exercises for decades. But on August 15, 2021, what began as a routine night diving qualification would turn into one of the most harrowing shark encounters in military history. Chief Petty Officer Mark Torres, 38, led the training team with 15 years of special operations experience. His group included 3 trainees: Lisa Chen, 29, a former Olympic swimmer; James Cooper, 31, with extensive cave diving experience; and Ryan Mitchell, 27, a marine biology graduate turned warrior. Their safety team was equally qualified. Mike O'Brien, 45, coordinating from their support vessel Poseidon, and Sarah Thompson, 35, their emergency medical specialist. The night's exercise involved underwater navigation in total darkness, using only tactical sonar devices. Water temperatures optimal, minimal current, Mike reported during the pre-dive briefing. Standard procedure called for teams to work in pairs while maintaining communication through underwater tactical systems. What their sonar didn't detect was the large predator drawn to the area by recent changes in local fish migrations. The exercise began at 2100 hours. Mark paired with Lisa while James and Ryan worked together, each team following different navigation routes at 60 feet. The first hour went smoothly as they practiced blind navigation through the kelp forest. The first warning came through their communication system. "Large contact moving through your sector," Sarah reported from above. Through their night vision equipment, they could see something massive weaving through the kelp stands, far too big to be the local seals. Mark recognized the shape first. A great white, easily 18 feet long, one of the largest ever spotted in these waters. More concerning was its behavior. Direct, purposeful movements unlike the typical investigative patterns of curious sharks. Their tactical equipment complicated matters. The sonar devices, while essential for the exercise, emitted frequencies that seemed to agitate the predator. Each pulse drew more focused attention from the shark. "All teams abort exercise," Mark ordered. But surfacing required careful planning. They were deep enough to need decompression stops, and the shark now circled between them and their ascent line. Through their comms, they could hear Mike coordinating with nearby naval vessels for support. The situation escalated when the shark made its first aggressive move. It charged through James and Ryan's position, forcing them to take shelter in a dense kelp stand. The predator's massive body cleared a path through the vegetation like an underwater bulldozer. Mark made a crucial decision. They carried emergency shark deterrents, standard equipment for Navy divers, but activating them might further agitate the already aggressive predator. When the shark turned toward Lisa, however, he had no choice. The deterrent's electrical field sent the shark into a frenzy. Instead of retreating, it began attacking the kelp around them. its powerful body thrashing through their natural cover. The teams were now exposed in open water, still 40 feet from their first required safety stop. Ryan's training nearly failed him when the shark charged directly at him, its jaws open wide enough to encompass his torso. Years of discipline kept him still as the massive predator veered away at the last second, more interested in the electronic signals from their gear. Lisa proved her Olympic background wasn't just for show. When the shark scattered their group, she maintained perfect composure, using minimal movements to regroup with Mark. Her calm efficiency helped steady the others as they began their careful ascent. At 30 feet, during their first decompression stop, the shark's behavior changed. It began swimming in tighter circles, its movements matching patterns documented before attacks. Through their night vision, they could see its dorsal fin occasionally breaking the surface. A support boat arrived, using powerful lights to illuminate the water around them. The sudden brightness confused the shark temporarily, but also highlighted the divers' vulnerable positions during their mandatory safety stop. The shark's most determined attack came at 15 feet. It charged upward from the depths, launching itself partially out of the water. Mark instinctively activated all their remaining deterrents simultaneously. The combined electrical field finally convinced the predator to seek easier prey. Breaking the surface felt like emerging from a nightmare. The support teams pulled them aboard efficiently, their military training evident in every movement. The shark made one final pass beneath their boats before disappearing into the darkness. The incident led to significant changes in naval diving protocols. Investigation revealed that recent military sonar exercises had disrupted normal fish migrations, drawing large predators unusually close to training areas. The combination of tactical equipment and night operations had created an perfect storm of shark-attracting conditions. Mark Torres used the experience to develop new safety procedures for night diving operations. Lisa Chen's Olympic-level composure under pressure became a case study in selection criteria for special operations divers. James Cooper helped design improved emergency protocols, while Ryan Mitchell's marine biology background proved valuable in understanding what had attracted the shark. The Navy's diving program continued, though with enhanced safety measures and better monitoring of marine predator activities. The incident highlighted how modern military technology could inadvertently interact with ancient hunting behaviors. Today, the waters off San Clemente Island still host training exercises, but with greater awareness of the ocean's apex predators. The great white was spotted several more times that season, recognized by distinctive scarring on its dorsal fin. Local naval personnel named it Echo, after the sonar signals that seemed to attract it. For those who survived that night, the experience reinforced what their training had always emphasized: that in special operations, threats can come from unexpected directions, and survival often depends on maintaining composure in the face of primal fear. The incident became part of naval diving lore, a reminder that even the most highly trained warriors must respect the ocean's natural order. Their story continues to educate new generations of military divers about the importance of understanding not just their equipment and missions, but the prehistoric predators that rule the depths. The gray waters off Oregon's coast concealed many dangers, but on October 12, 2023, the Marine Mammal Rescue Unit from Newport faced something far deadlier than the usual risks of their work. What began as an effort to save a stranded juvenile humpback whale would become a desperate fight for survival against one of the ocean's most efficient predators. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, 39, had led the rescue team for 8 years. Her crew was experienced. Mike Chen, 35, their dive specialist and rescue coordinator. Twins Emma and Lisa Torres, both 31, operating their rescue boats. And Tom Brady, 45, their veteran marine wildlife specialist who'd worked with whales for 2 decades. The distress call came at dawn. A young humpback about 25 feet long had become trapped in shallow water near Yaquina Head. The incoming tide offered a chance to free it, but time was crucial. What they didn't know was that the whale's distress had already attracted unwanted attention. "Visibility's about 15 feet," Mike reported as they approached the stranded whale. The animal lay in 20 feet of water, its tail occasionally breaking the surface as it struggled. The team had handled similar rescues before, but something about this one felt different. The first warning came from their support vessel. "Large contact approaching from deep water," Emma radioed. Through the murky water, they spotted a massive shape gliding beneath their boats. A great white shark, easily 18 feet long. The predator had likely been drawn by the whale's distress signals. Sarah knew they couldn't abandon the rescue. The young whale wouldn't survive another low-tide cycle. But working in the water with both a panicked whale and a great white posed risks beyond anything in their training. Mike entered the water first, needing to attach floating pontoons to help the whale maintain buoyancy. The shark's presence complicated every movement. They had to stay close enough to the whale to work, but far enough to monitor the predator's location. The situation deteriorated when the shark made its first pass at the whale. The massive predator charged from the depths, its jaws leaving deep scratches along the whale's flank. The young humpback's panic nearly capsized their smaller rescue boat. Tom deployed their shark deterrents, electronic devices designed to create an uncomfortable barrier for the predator. But the shark, driven by hunting instinct, seemed more agitated by the pulses. Each pass brought it closer to the rescue team. The team faced a terrible choice: risk their lives to save the whale or withdraw and let nature take its course. Sarah knew any blood in the water would only make the situation more dangerous. Through their radios, they could hear Lisa coordinating with the Coast Guard for support. The shark's next attack changed everything. It charged between Mike and the whale, its massive body sending him tumbling through the water. The impact knocked his regulator loose, forcing him to surface quickly. The predator immediately focused on his splashing movement. Sarah acted without hesitation. She struck the shark's sensitive snout with her rescue pole as it turned toward Mike. The hit connected, buying precious seconds for him to reach the boat. But now the shark's attention had shifted from the whale to the rescuers. Tom made a desperate suggestion. They carried underwater flares for emergency signaling, bright enough to potentially overwhelm the shark's sensitive eyes. The risk was that the light and commotion might further stress the whale. They deployed the flares as the shark made another charge. The brilliant light underwater caused the predator to veer away sharply. In those crucial moments, Emma and Lisa managed to position the floating pontoons while the shark was disoriented. The young whale, sensing an opportunity, began moving toward deeper water. But the shark wasn't finished. It made one final powerful attack, launching itself partially out of the water toward their rescue boat. Tom barely pulled his legs in as massive jaws snapped shut inches from the gunwale. The Coast Guard arrived as they were completing the rescue. Their larger vessel and additional shark deterrents finally convinced the predator to seek easier prey. The young whale, though injured, swam strongly once freed from the shallows. The incident made headlines across the Pacific Northwest. Marine biologists studying the case noted the unusual boldness of the great white, suggesting changing ocean conditions might be altering traditional hunting patterns. The combination of a stranded whale and rescue activity had created a perfect storm of attractants for the predator. Sarah Mitchell used the experience to develop new protocols for marine mammal rescue in shark-inhabited waters. The Torres twins helped design improved rescue boat configurations with better protection for personnel. Tom Brady incorporated the incident into training programs for wildlife responders. Mike Chen recovered from his close call and continued rescue work, though with a deeper respect for the ocean's apex predators. The team's quick thinking and coordination became a model for marine rescue operations worldwide. The great white was spotted several more times that season, recognized by distinctive scarring near its dorsal fin. Local fishermen named it Ghost for its ability to appear suddenly in shallow waters. Its presence led to new studies of shark behavior around stranded marine mammals. Today, the Oregon coast still sees regular marine mammal rescues, though with enhanced safety measures and better understanding of predator behavior. The incident serves as a reminder that in saving one species, rescuers must always be aware of the other wild creatures drawn to their work. For those who survived that day, the experience reinforced what they already knew, that in marine rescue operations, nature's drama plays out on multiple levels. Their story continues to educate new generations of marine mammal rescuers about the complex and sometimes dangerous interactions between predator, prey, and human helpers. The young humpback was spotted several times in following months, its scars healing as it migrated along the coast. For the rescue team, its survival represented more than just a successful mission. It was a testament to human courage and the difficult choices faced by those who work to protect marine life, even in the presence of nature's most efficient predators. The incident became part of marine rescue lore, a reminder that in the ocean, every intervention into natural processes carries risk. Yet it also demonstrated that with proper training, equipment, and respect for all marine life, even those that threaten us, humans can make a difference while staying safe in the process. The waters off Tahiti's remote Tuamotu archipelago had yielded black pearls for generations. But on May 15, 2019, the crew of the Pearl Seeker would discover that some treasures come at a terrible price. For veteran pearl diver Marcus Chen, 45, this dive would test everything he'd learned in 20 years of working these pristine lagoons. His team was small but skilled. Marie Laurent, 38, a French-Polynesian diver who'd grown up in these waters. Brothers Jack and Tom Wilson, 32 and 29, operating their support boat. And Dr. Sarah Ahmed, 35, their dive safety specialist who monitored their deep-water operations. The morning started perfectly. Calm seas, clear skies, and exceptional visibility in the lagoon. They'd found a promising bed of black-lipped oysters at 120 feet, deeper than usual but potentially untouched. What they didn't know was that recent storms had breached the lagoon's natural barriers, allowing something deadly to enter their sanctuary. Water temperatures ideal, Sarah reported during their morning check. The depth would limit their bottom time, requiring careful monitoring of decompression limits. Marie had spotted something unusual on their initial survey. Oysters far larger than typically found, suggesting they'd discovered an ancient bed. The first sign of trouble came during their second dive. Marcus noticed the reef fish behaving strangely, abandoning their usual territories. Through the crystal-clear water, he spotted movement in the deeper channel, something large enough to seem impossible in a lagoon. "Unknown contact moving through the western gap," Jack radioed from above. The shadow resolved into a tiger shark, massive even for its species, easily 15 feet long. Tiger sharks occasionally entered lagoons, but this one's behavior was immediately concerning. Direct, purposeful movements rather than cautious exploration. Marie recognized the danger first. The shark wasn't just passing through, it was establishing hunting patterns, using the lagoon's coral formations to mask its approach. Each circle brought it closer to their working area where they had limited options for escape. Marcus made a quick decision to end the dive, but their ascent required careful planning. At this depth, rushing to the surface could be as deadly as any shark. Through their communication system, they could hear Tom coordinating with nearby pearl farms for assistance. The situation deteriorated when the shark made its first aggressive move. It charged through their bubble stream, forcing them against the coral wall. Marcus felt its rough skin brush past his leg, leaving painful scratches through his wetsuit. The scent of blood, however faint, would only escalate the situation. Sarah deployed their shark deterrent, an electronic device designed to create an uncomfortable barrier for predators. The tiger shark recoiled initially, but quickly returned, now seeming more agitated by the electrical pulses. Each pass brought it closer, its movements becoming more erratic. Marie's local knowledge proved invaluable. She spotted a narrow cave in the coral formation, just large enough for them to take shelter while maintaining their depth for decompression. The shark, too large to follow, began patrolling the entrance. Inside the cave, they checked their air supplies. The unplanned wait would stretch their reserves to the limit. Through their comms, they could hear the Wilson brothers deploying additional shark deterrents from the boat above. The tiger shark's next move shocked them all. It began ramming the coral around the cave entrance, using its powerful body to break away chunks of the ancient formation. Each impact sent vibrations through the water, accompanied by clouds of coral debris that reduced visibility. Sarah checked her computer. They still needed 12 minutes at their first decompression stop. The shark, whether by instinct or intelligence, seemed to understand their vulnerable position. Its attacks on the coral intensified, each impact threatening to collapse their shelter. Marcus made a desperate decision. They carried emergency surface markers, bright yellow tubes that inflated with air. If they released them away from their position, the movement and color might distract the shark long enough for them to reach their first stop. Marie deployed the markers while Marcus readied their remaining shark deterrent. The plan worked initially, The shark charged after the rising tubes, giving them precious seconds to exit the cave. But the predator quickly realized the deception, turning back toward them with frightening speed. At 70 feet, during their first mandatory stop, the shark made its most determined attack. It charged straight up from below, jaws open wide. Sarah's quick reaction saved Marcus's life. She struck the shark's sensitive gills with her emergency air cylinder, forcing it to veer away. The next 5 minutes became a desperate dance. The tiger shark circled tighter while they maintained their depth, each diver watching a different direction. Their air supplies dwindled dangerously low as the predator tested their defenses repeatedly. Help arrived unexpectedly. A local pearl farm boat appeared above, its crew dropping chains into the water, an old Polynesian technique that created curtains of bubbles and noise that sharks typically avoided. The tiger shark retreated temporarily, giving them a chance to ascend to their final stop. At 15 feet, they faced one last crisis. Marie's air pressure dropped critically low. Without hesitation, Marcus offered his backup regulator. They would have to buddy breathe through their final minutes of decompression. The shark, drawn by their increased movement, made one final charge. The attack came from the side, the shark's massive body torpedoing through their group. Its rough skin scraped against Sarah's equipment, tearing away her weight belt. The sudden loss of weight sent her shooting toward the surface, but she managed to grab Marcus's arm, stopping her dangerous ascent. Breaking the surface felt like emerging from a nightmare. The Wilson brothers helped them aboard as the Pearl Farm boat's crew continued their chain deterrent. The shark made one final pass beneath them before disappearing into the deeper waters of the lagoon. The incident made headlines across French Polynesia. Marine biologists studying the case noted that changing ocean patterns and storm damage to lagoon barriers might bring similar encounters in the future. The combination of deep pearl beds and damaged reefs had created a perfect hunting ground for the shark. Marcus Chen continued pearl diving, but helped develop new safety protocols for deep lagoon operations. Marie Laurent used her experience to establish better communication networks between pearl farms, creating an early warning system for dangerous predators. The Wilson brothers modified their boat's safety equipment, incorporating the local chain deterrent technique alongside modern technology. Sarah Ahmed's quick thinking and calm response became a model for dive safety training in the region. Today, the Tuamotu lagoons still produce some of the world's finest black pearls, though with enhanced safety measures and better understanding of their changing ecosystem. The incident serves as a reminder that in these remote waters, ancient risks can still emerge without warning. The tiger shark was spotted several more times before the lagoon barrier was repaired, earning the nickname Le Gardien, the Guardian, among local pearl farmers. Its presence led to new studies of how shifting climate patterns might affect shark movements in the South Pacific. For those who survived that day, the experience reinforced both respect for traditional knowledge and the importance of modern safety measures. Their story continues to educate pearl divers about the delicate balance between harvesting the ocean's treasures and respecting its most dangerous residents. Dawn broke over Neptune Islands as the film crew of Ocean Predators prepared for what should have been another routine day of shark documentation. But February 15, 2023, would become anything but routine when their underwater cage filming turned into a desperate fight for survival. Director Mark Torres, 42, had filmed great whites for over a decade. His team was experienced. Sarah Chen, 35, their lead underwater cinematographer, dive specialists Mike and Lisa Rodriguez, both 38, and Tom Brady, 45, their safety coordinator who'd worked with sharks around the globe. The morning briefing focused on the unusually large number of sharks in the area. At least 6 different great whites spotted yesterday, Tom noted, studying their tracking data. What they didn't realize was that these numbers signaled a dramatic shift in local hunting patterns. Their first cage deployment went smoothly. Sarah captured stunning footage of a 14-foot female investigating their bait lines, while Mike and Lisa managed the support equipment. The sharks showed typical behavior, cautious approaches followed by quick passes at the bait. Everything changed during the afternoon session. A new shark appeared, dwarfing the others at nearly 20 feet. Its behavior was immediately different. Direct, aggressive approaches that seemed more territorial than investigative. That's not normal, Mark muttered, watching through their underwater cameras. In 15 years of filming, he'd never seen a great white display such deliberate aggression toward a cage. The massive shark began circling tighter, each pass bringing it closer to their equipment. Sarah was in the cage with Mike when the first attack came. The shark struck the metal bars with incredible force, its powerful body connecting squarely with the cage's side. The impact sent cameras flying and bent one of the main support bars. "Get them out!" Tom shouted from above, but the situation deteriorated rapidly. The shark's attack had damaged their winch system. The cage, with Sarah and Mike inside, was stuck at 30 feet with limited options for emergency extraction. Lisa entered the water to assist with repairs, but her presence seemed to further agitate the shark. It made another pass, this time catching the cage's corner in its massive jaws. Metal groaned as teeth designed to shear through seal bones tested the structure's integrity. Through their communication system, they could hear Tom coordinating with nearby vessels for assistance. The massive shark had scattered the other great whites, claiming the area as its exclusive territory. Each attack grew more determined than the last. The next impact partially separated the cage from its mounting bracket. Sarah and Mike braced themselves as the structure tilted dangerously. Their air supplies were good, but the cage's integrity was failing. Through the bent bars, they could see the shark circling back for another attack. Lisa made a desperate decision. Their emergency kit contained underwater flares, bright enough to potentially drive the shark away. But using them meant getting dangerously close to the predator's path. She positioned herself above the cage, waiting for the right moment. The shark's charge came with frightening speed. Lisa ignited the flare just as the massive predator turned toward the cage. The brilliant light and heat caused the shark to veer away sharply, but the victory was temporary. The great white quickly adjusted to the disturbance, now showing interest in both the cage and Lisa's position. Mark deployed their backup plan, a second cage attached to a separate winch system. If they could transfer Sarah and Mike quickly enough, they might be able to get everyone out safely. But the shark's increasingly aggressive behavior made any movement extremely dangerous. The transfer would become the most harrowing 2 minutes of their careers. Lisa maintained position with the flares while Sarah and Mike prepared to swim the short distance between cages. The shark circled below, its white belly occasionally visible as it rolled to track their movements. They moved one at a time. Mike went first, crossing the gap as Lisa deterred the shark with another flare. Sarah followed moments later, her camera still rolling, capturing what would become some of the most dramatic shark footage ever recorded. The massive predator made its final attack just as they began ascending in the second cage. It struck from below, its huge body breaching partially out of the water. Lisa barely avoided its jaws, kicking hard toward the cage as teeth snapped shut inches from her fins. Once aboard, the team watched in awe as the shark systematically destroyed their original cage, its attacks now focused on the empty structure. The power and intelligence displayed were unprecedented, challenging everything they thought they knew about great white behavior. The incident made headlines worldwide. Marine biologists studying the footage noted that the shark's size and behavior suggested it might be one of the oldest great whites ever documented. Its unusual aggression sparked new research into how these apex predators establish and defend territory. Mark Torres continued filming sharks, but developed new safety protocols for cage diving operations. Sarah Chen's footage became essential viewing for shark researchers, while the Rodriguez siblings helped design improved cage systems with multiple backup safety features. Tom Brady used the experience to establish better guidelines for filming great whites, emphasizing the need to recognize and respond to unusual behavior patterns. Their collective experience became a crucial resource for the growing shark tourism industry. Today, the Neptune Islands remain a premier destination for shark filming, though with enhanced safety measures and better understanding of great white behavior. The incident serves as a reminder that even with modern technology and experience, nature's most efficient predators command respect. The massive shark was spotted several more times that season before disappearing into deeper waters. Local operators named it the Professor for the lessons it taught about great white capability and power. Its legacy lives on in improved safety standards and a deeper appreciation for these magnificent but dangerous creatures. Smoke drifted across Port Lincoln's fishing docks as the crew of the Southern Cross prepared for what seemed like just another day of tuna fishing. Captain Mike Reeves, 45, had worked these waters for 2 decades, but August 23, 2021, would test everything he knew about survival at sea. His crew was solid. Sarah Chen, 38, first mate with 15 years experience, brothers Tom and Jack Wilson, 32 and 29, who handled the nets like they were born to it, and Pete Martinez, 41, their engineer who could fix anything that floated. The morning weather report showed clear skies and calm seas, perfect conditions for working the rich tuna grounds off South Australia's coast. They'd been having a good season, their holds regularly full of valuable bluefin. None of them noticed the subtle changes in local marine life patterns that should have warned them. 3 hours out, they found what they were looking for. Their sonar showed a massive school of tuna at 200 feet. As they deployed their nets, Sarah noticed something odd. The fish were behaving erratically, staying unusually deep instead of following their normal patterns. "Something's not right," she called from the stern. Through the crystal clear water, they could see shadows moving beneath their nets, far larger than any tuna. The first real warning came when their catch suddenly scattered, abandoning their usual schooling behavior. The great white appeared without warning, its massive form breaching through their net like it was made of thread. At 18 feet, it was larger than any they'd encountered, and its behavior was immediately alarming. Instead of investigating cautiously, it began systematically attacking their fishing gear. "Get those nets in," Mike ordered, but the damage was already done. The shark had torn a massive hole in their expensive equipment and, worse, seemed agitated by the activity around the boat. Each attempt to retrieve their gear brought it closer, its attacks growing more aggressive. The situation deteriorated when the shark struck their stabilizer. The impact shuddered through the vessel and Pete disappeared below to check for damage. Through their radio, they could hear him reporting water entering through damaged seals. Tom and Jack worked frantically to save what they could of the nets, but the shark's next attack changed everything. It launched itself partially out of the water, its massive jaws clamping down on the hydraulic winch. The metal groaned as teeth designed to shear through whale blubber tested the equipment's strength. Sarah made it to the emergency gear just as the winch gave way. The failure sent a whiplash of cable across the deck, catching Tom in the leg and pulling him toward the gunwale. Jack grabbed his brother's vest, but they were both sliding toward the shark-infested water. Mike reacted instantly, cutting the cable with their emergency shears while Sarah helped pull the brothers to safety. The shark, now seemingly focused on the vessel itself, began circling tighter. Each pass brought its dorsal fin closer to the hull, like a predator sizing up its prey. Pete's voice crackled over the intercom. "We're taking on more water than the pumps can handle." The damaged stabilizer had torn a larger hole than initially thought. The Southern Cross was starting to list to port, bringing them dangerously close to the waterline where the shark continued its patrol. The predator's next attack targeted their rudder. The impact knocked their steering offline, leaving them wallowing in the swells. 2 more great whites had appeared, drawn by the commotion and the scent of fish blood in the water. Their situation became desperate when the largest shark rammed the hull near the waterline. The strike opened a new leak, and water began pouring in faster. Through their radio, they could hear Pete fighting a losing battle with the flooding. "Mayday! Mayday!" Sarah's voice remained steady as she broadcast their position. But help would take precious minutes to arrive, and their vessel was sinking faster than anyone had thought possible. The largest shark made its most determined attack as they prepared to abandon ship. It breached completely, its body crashing onto their stern. The impact nearly capsized them, sending equipment sliding across the deck. Tom, his injured leg still bleeding, barely avoided going overboard. Their life raft inflation seemed to drive the sharks into a frenzy. The predators began charging the vessel from multiple angles, each impact threatening to break their hull completely. Mike knew they had moments to make a terrible choice: stay with the sinking boat or risk the raft. A nearby fishing vessel, the Pacific Lady, responded to their mayday. As it approached, its powerful engines finally seemed to discourage the sharks. The crew managed to transfer safely, watching as their beloved Southern Cross slipped beneath the waves. The incident made headlines across Australia's fishing community. Marine biologists studying the case noted that changing ocean temperatures had altered traditional great white hunting grounds. bringing them into more frequent contact with fishing vessels. Mike Reeves eventually returned to fishing, but helped develop new safety protocols for the industry. The Wilson brothers recovered from their ordeal and continued working the waters, though with a deeper respect for its apex predators. The massive great white was spotted several more times that season, earning the nickname Old Ghost among local fishermen. Its unusual behavior led to new studies of how fishing operations might inadvertently attract and aggravate these ancient predators. Today, the waters off Port Lincoln still draw fishing boats and sharks alike, though with enhanced safety measures and better understanding of predator behavior. The Southern Cross incident serves as a reminder that in these waters, human technology and nature's most efficient hunters maintain an uneasy coexistence. For those who survived that day, the experience reinforced what generations of fishermen had always known, that success at sea requires not just skill and courage, but a profound respect for its most dangerous inhabitants.